Hi, my name is Eddie, and this morning I'll be reading from Daniel chapter 4, starting verse 19. And since actually I was assigned to share about this passage, I had also just preached on this passage this past weekend, dressed up as Nebuchadnezzar. So I thought I would just do this video as myself, since it would be overkill, I guess, for me to do this all over again, the same passage as Nebuchadnezzar. So I will read for you from this passage, and this passage, right before this passage, King Nebuchadnezzar had just had a dream about a giant tree. And so here's Daniel, and he's about to give the interpretation of this dream to his king, King Nebuchadnezzar. And it says this: Then Daniel, also called Belteshazzar, was greatly perplexed for a time, and his thoughts terrified him. So the king said, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its meaning alarm you. Belteshazzar answered, My lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies and its meaning to your adversaries. The tree you saw, which grew large and strong, with its top touching the sky, visible to the whole earth, with beautiful leaves and abundant fruit, providing food for all, giving shelter to the wild animals, and having nesting places in its branches for the birds. Your Majesty, you are that tree. You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown until it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to the distant parts of the earth. Your Majesty saw a holy one, a messenger coming down from heaven, and saying, Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump, bound with iron and bronze, in the grass of the field, while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live with the wild animals until 7 times pass by for him. This is the interpretation, Your Majesty, and this is the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king. You will be driven away from the people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Therefore, Your Majesty, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. So when I read this passage, I just think about those times in the past in which I've been working and I had many bosses. And sometimes, you want to make your boss happy. You want to please your boss because your boss, of course, has the power to hire you or to fire you. And in Daniel's case, King Nebuchadnezzar can also kill him if he is displeased in any way. And yet, Daniel had the courage to tell the king the truth of what the dream means, regardless of whether the king is going to be happy with his interpretation or not. He was a little worried, of course, Daniel. He's just a human being after all. He was a little worried that the king is going to get really mad at him for his interpretation and take it out on him. But nevertheless, he told the king the truth. And later on in the passage, you'll see that actually Nebuchadnezzar was not angry with Daniel at all. And what Daniel said about the king had come to pass because the king did not renounce his sin and do what is right. And so what happened in the dream came to pass for the king. And so I think about those times, in particular, one boss that I had. I'm not going to say who it is or where it is, but this one boss, he comes together with me and another person and it's like, hey, I have this great idea. And he tells us his idea. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's a terrible idea. But because he's my boss, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Because I didn't want him to be angry, right, with me and not go along with his idea. And so, in the end, he went through with the idea, and it was a terrible idea, and it didn't work, and it harmed our organization. So that was not a good thing that happened. And a lot of times it's just like for us who are working with bosses, it's kind of like the emperor's new clothes, right? The emperor, that story, the emperor, somebody comes and sells the emperor some invisible clothes, and only for the most powerful, the brightest person can see the clothes, and nobody else can see the clothes. And so the king, he's going around the kingdom naked, and everyone's like, "Oh, king, those are the most beautiful clothes I've ever seen. So awesome, so awesome." But then, the king obviously is naked. So it kind of reminds me of that sometimes. And so I guess my message to you guys is, man, don't be afraid to speak the truth. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. Tell the truth to your boss, and because ultimately God is the one who is in control of whether you are hired or fired. He is in control, and if you do what is right, you tell the king the truth, in the end it will go well with you, your organization, your boss, and you will be honoring God in what you do. And so that's my sharing to you. Take care. See you next time.